The pause in fighting is over and Israel is once again attacking Gaza. Are Israel within their rights to stop at nothing to defeat Hamas?
Well, Hamas leader in Gaza, I've got something here which I heard today, Yahya Sinwar, in his first publicised statement since launching Al-Aqsa campaign, said, the leaders of the occupation, Israel, should know October 7th was just a rehearsal. We will attack again, again, and again. So I don't think Israel's got any choice but to eradicate Hamas.
However, Michael, at the expense of civilian casualties, is the loss of life an acceptable price to pay?
Well, that's never an acceptable price to pay. But sadly, that's war. Israel has gone out of its way, far more than the British did in the Second World War, or indeed the British did in Iran and in Iraq, rather, and Afghanistan, in advising people to move when there's likely to be an attack. But it is desperately sad, but this is always the result of armed conflict, and Britain is just as bad as Israel, as is any other country which is involved in armed conflict. But, you know, as Golda Meir once said, if the Arabs put down their guns, there'll be peace. But if Israel puts down its guns, there'll be annihilation.
Laura, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's important to get the chronology right at the end of this ceasefire, because I think from the way you just put it, Mark, it makes it sound like Israel ended the ceasefire, which is not true. Actually, the ceasefire has expired early because Hamas fired a missile first thing this morning and reneged on its agreement to return all of the women and children hostages. So the ceafire's ended because Hamas ended it early, not for the first time they've done that. And don't forget, there was a ceasefire on the 6th of October. Israel's in the impossible position of having to respond militarily to complete its two objectives, to obtain the release of all of the hostages and to rout out Hamas, because Hamas have said they will keep doing it over and over. And as Michael just said, they're describing October the 7th as a rehearsal. Having watched the bearing witness screening of the Hamas massacre on the 7th of October, the idea that's a rehearsal for anything else just cannot stand. They cannot be allowed to do that again.
Michael Crick, does Britain need to back Israel all the way?
No, I think Britain should back Israel partially. I think the more important, because they're much more powerful, the Americans should be being much more conditional in the way that they back Israel. And I think one of the problems has been for the last 20 years is that the Americans have not reprimanded Israel for the whole of the settlements policy. I think the problem that Israel's got here is not they're in danger of losing world opinion, Western opinion, if they carry on with the attacks on Gaza with the ferocity that they have and the dreadful consequences to human life and children ending up with no legs and no arms. And they are building, even if they wipe out the current generation of Hamas, they are building a new generation of a new terrorist organisation that could turn out to be even worse.
Briefly, Michael Fabricant, last word to you.
Well, simply that the Israelis, are a modern Western democracy accountable to their people, which Hamas certainly isn't. And one of the problems that the Israeli government faces is that if they don't go in hard, it'll be many, many more Israeli soldiers who will be killed, and then the government may fall. Look, I very much agree with Michael Crick, but, we don't live in a perfect world. And as I said, the British have done far worse.
I'll just clip that bit where you said I very much agree with Michael Crick, and we'll use it against you in the future, Michael Fabricant. Listen, have a great weekend. It's always a treat having you on the show, Michael. We know how busy you are. We'll catch up soon. Conservative MP for Lichfield, Michael Fabricant.